Hi, my friends, it's Miss Alexander. Today we're working on Module 5, Lesson 13 of EngageNY. Yes, I've turned this in a multiple day lesson, so we have time to practice this concept. Our objective is to compare two fractions with different numerators and different denominators. In order to do that, to compare them, we're going to create a common denominator. Let's quick review our vocabulary words. We have fraction, numerator, denominator, and equivalence. These are important words. Now, here are the steps we need to do. The first step is to find a common denominator. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our denominators. If they're not the same, we have to find a common one. In order to do that, we're going to skip count by the denominator until we find a common multiple. Once we find this common multiple, which means we have our common denominator, we need to convert our fractions into the common denominator. And we do that by multiplying the original fraction by a value of 1 whole. And 1 whole is like 2 over 2, 3 over 3, 5 over 5. Now, what's great is if I had 237 over 237, that still equals 1 whole. It equals 1. So let's go look at an example. Right now, we have 1/2 and 2/5. So I need to look at these denominators. So I see the 2 and the 5. So right here in the orange, I'm going to highlight my question mark and I'll put a 2 in the orange one. In the green one, I'm going to highlight question mark and I'm going to write a 5. So I have 2 and 5. Now, I usually recommend when finding our common denominators or finding our multiple, I usually recommend going 5 multiples out. If I need to go more, I can go more later. So I'm going to do my 2's, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so I did my multiples of 2. And if you notice, it always starts with the one you're doing. 2, I add 2 to get 4. I add 2 to 4 to get 6. Add 2 to 6 to get 8. Add 2 to 8 to get 10. Those are my multiples. Now I'm going to do 5. I'm counting by 5s. So I do 5, 10. I notice that I have a 10 already up here. So right here on the 5s, I can stop because I see that they both have a 10. I don't think it's important to keep going with the 5s. Go until we find a common denominator or a common multiple. So it is 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is come up here into our problem by the equal sign, and in the denominator, write 10. And then in the other fraction on the other side, I'm going to also write 10 because this is our common denominator. Now we're going to take this 1/2 and 2/5 and change it into the tenths. And in order to do that, I'm going to jump to step 2. I'm going to take the 1/2. So 1 over 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I hit the space bar, my 1/2 is going to go small. But to make it big again, like this one, all I have to do is hit backspace. So watch this. Space, it's small. Hit backspace, I'm big. So now I'm going to multiply. Now I'm going to multiply some fraction which equals a whole 1 to equal some fraction over 10. So remember, 10 is my common denominator. So now I have to think of 2 times what number gave me 10. If I'm not too sure, I can go count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all I did was go to step 1 and count my multiples that I wrote out. And I saw that it was 5. So in my denominator, I'm going to write 5. But remember, we're doing a whole 1, which means I need this fraction to equal 1. And in order to do that, what I do the denominator, I have to do the numerator. So right there, I put the 5. So 5 over 5 equals 1. So now that I've done that, I take the 1 in my numerator from my 1/2 and multiply it by the next 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. So up here next to the equal sign, I have to put a 5 in my question mark. So I have 5/10. But I still have this 2/5, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and move my cursor over. I'm going to do 2/5. Look, it went small. Hit backspace. I'm going to multiply some fraction which equals a whole 1, which equals some fraction over 10. So again, I have to think of what's 5 times what number gives me 10. So I'm going to go to step 1 and look, see 1, 2, or I already knew that 5 times 2 is 10. Either way, we got 2. So now once we get that 2 in our denominator, we have to figure out what goes in the numerator. Remember, we're looking for a fraction that equals 1 whole. So I know what I do to my denominator, I have to do my numerator. So if I have a 2 in my denominator, 2 needs to be my numerator. So I go to my 2/5, that numerator, which is a 2, and I multiply it by 2 to get 4. So now this one, 2/5, is equivalent to 4/10. So up here in the last fraction, I'm going to highlight my question mark and put a 4. Now I have a question mark in between 5/10 and 4/10. I have to figure out which one is greater than, is 5/10 greater than 4/10? Is 5/10 less than 4/10? Or are they equal? I know if I happen to draw this out, you guys, I know that 5/10 is bigger than 4/10. So I need to say that it's a bigger. That means I take this, I call it my alligator sign. I don't remember the actual term for this sign, but the bigger end is like an alligator and it wants to eat the bigger number. So right here, we make sure the bigger end is facing the bigger number, which is telling us that 1/2, you guys, is bigger than 2/5. So this is one problem. Let's go do another one. You guys have got this. You're doing an amazing job. Now remember, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like. Also, if you want to be notified that I've got more videos coming, hit the bell. And also, please subscribe so that I can keep making these videos. Let's go to our next problem, you guys. We have 3/5 and 8/10. So again, I'm looking at our denominators. I'm not worried about my numerators until step 2. So we just look at the denominators, which is our bottom numbers. We have 5 and 10. So in the orange one, my orange question mark, I'm going to write a 5 because it's first. And then underneath my orange is a green one. So I'll write my next number, 10. So I have 5 and 10. So right here, I'm going to count out. Remember, I go 5 multiples out. So we're counting by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I did hear some of you go, Miss Alexander, we don't have to go all the way out to 25 because I see that 10's down here already, so we can stop at the 10. Yes, you could do that. If you notice that, you can do that. But if you don't notice it, go 5 out. So right here, I'm going to do my 10s. And as you guys said, I can stop because they both have 10. I don't have to go any further. So I'm going to quick highlight my 10s because this is what we need. So right up here next to the equal sign on the right-hand side, I'm going to quick put my common denominator, which is 10, in the denominators, in both of them. And because we have 8/10 already, I'm going to jump up into the numerator of the last fraction and write my 8, which means I only have to convert one fraction to get my common denominator, and that's my 3/5. So down here in step 2, I'm going to do 3/5. I'm pretty sure when I hit the space bar, it's going to go small. But remember, I'll just hit the backspace and make it big again. So there's our small, hit backspace. Remember, I'm going to multiply by some fraction which equals a whole 1. And then it's going to equal some fraction over 10. So here I've got to think 5 times what number gives me 10? I should know that 5 times 2 is 10, but if not, go up to step 1 and count your multiples. 1, 2. Right there, you'll see that there's 2. And remember, we want a whole 1. And in order to do that, whatever I did whatever I did to the denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So because there's a 2 in my denominator, I have to put a 2 in my numerator. Remember, 2 over 2 equals 1. Now I take the numerator of the 3/5 and multiply it by the numerator of the 2 over 2. So 3 times 2 equals Yes, it equals 6, you guys. So I'm going to take that 6 and come up to the equal sign to where my question mark is, and I'm going to write 6. So I'm going to have 6/10 and 8/10. Now I have to figure out which one's bigger. So is 6 bigger than 8? No. 8 is bigger, so we need to make sure that we say 6/10 is less than 8/10. Again, with this little alligator mouth, it needs to be pointed toward the bigger number. And because we know this, right here, 3/5 is less than 8/10. And we know that because 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. As you're doing these problems, take a breath. You've got this. Remember, I'm proud of each and every one of you just for attempting, and you will get it. Remember to always smile, giggle, and wiggle, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.